This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by GSMC, the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. And for today's show, I'm pretty much going to talk some NBA. It's going to be a really NBA-heavy show today, okay? We're going to go over the games from last night. And then we'll probably talk about the games today going on. I think we got the Sixers. Who are the Sixers playing today? Let me double-check that. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about the games from last night. Then we'll talk about... We'll do some NBA power rankings, my power rankings for the NBA, and then later on in the show we'll talk about the Browns firing their GM Sashi Brown and and they didn't fire Hugh Jackson, but we'll talk about Hugh Jackson too. And then for that last segment, like we always do, pretty much just talk about whatever comes to my mind. Like yesterday, we were actually in yesterday's show. If you missed that, go ahead and check that out. But yeah, like yesterday's show for that last segment, I can't remember what I was starting off with. But I was talking about something or someone, I can't remember exactly, but eventually that got me to talking about how when you're discussing players and who's better and who's not, I mean, you really shouldn't use championships as a basis for your argument, like as the main point of your argument, because like I was saying yesterday, championships is pretty much, that's a team stat right there. You can't do it on your own. Jordan never did it on his own. LeBron never did it on his own. Kobe, as much as people like to say, he never did it on his own. And really, you need at least probably a couple of future Hall of Famers on your team in order to win a championship. But yeah, just like I said yesterday, it's honestly kind of pointless to me to argue championships with players. I mean, I understand like individually that's what they want the most, but either way, it's all about the stats to me when you're comparing players, because I mean, like I said, it's just you're comparing two individual players. I mean, one could have played on a great team and won a championship, and one simply couldn't have. And I'm not saying like it completely doesn't matter about championships, but don't be using that as your main point. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, today the Lakers are playing the Sixers are playing the Lakers. Got a tongue twister right there. But like I said, we'll talk more about that one later on in the segment, where we might just fit that into the next segment. So let's get started with the games from last night, though. So you had Dallas. They went into Boston. Boston won that one 97-90. Game wasn't as close as the score shows. Boston pretty much pulled away in the fourth quarter, and then Dallas pretty much made some late garbage time buckets. But Dirk Nowitzki, he had 16 points. He shot 6 of 15, 6 rebounds. Harrison Barnes had 19 points. He shot 8 of 15, 7 rebounds from him. Really good game from him. Dennis Smith Jr. got shut down yesterday. He only had 12 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 4 of 16. And Wesley Matthews didn't have all that great of a game either. He had 7 points, shot 3 of 7, and only played 30 minutes. As for Boston, Kyrie Irving had 23 points. He shot 10 of 18, 1 of 6 from the three-point line. Kyrie's three-point numbers really haven't been too great so far this season, but he's been producing in other areas, so he's been playing really well still. He also had 5 assists. As for Al Horford, he had 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He shot 7 of 17 and shot 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Jason Tatum, big game from him. He had 17 points, 10 rebounds, and he shot 5 of 11 and 2 of 3 from the three-point line. I think right now Boston is the only team in the league with 4 players who are averaging at least 14 points a game and shooting at least 40% from the three-point line. And Jason Tatum, he's currently shooting, I think it's 51 or 50% from the three-point line in the league, and that's right now it's the best out of everyone in the league. So it's pretty impressive from the rookie right there. As for Marcus Smart, he only had 2 points, 4 assists, 1 rebound. He played 34 minutes, only took 5 shots. He went 1 of 5. So, I mean, Marcus Smart, when he's out there, he's not really going to fill up the stat sheet or anything like that. He's usually just going to be out there. He's the hustle player, okay? He's going to make the hard-nosed diving plays. Okay, he's a great defensive player. He's pretty much that player that if he's not on your team, you hate him, and if he is on your team, then you love him. But as for the next game, the Kings went into Cleveland. Cleveland won that one 101-95. Oh, and by the way, before I even get into these next games, I was so close to, not close, I guess. I mean, you know how usually I try to pick the games and try to be right about all of them. I should have picked the Knicks because with Porzingis playing, but for some reason I just went with Memphis. Should have went against that. And the Detroit, too, they let me down against Milwaukee. They lost by 4, but everyone else I got right. So, I mean, I'm getting closer to getting that 100% record on these picks. But, yeah, back to that Kings and Cleveland Cavs game. Cavs won that one 101-95. Kevin Love, 18 points, 13 rebounds, shot 7 of 16. LeBron James, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He shot 12 of 18 for the entire game, 5 of 8 from the three-point line. Let's see, Jeff Green, that guy's been around for a while. He had 17 points, shot 6 of 8. And Kyle Korver off the bench, 15 points. He shot 5 of 9 and 4 of 8 from the three-point line. As for the Kings, you had Zach Randolph, 18 points, 10 rebounds, shot 8 of 20. George Hill had 10 points, shot 4 of 10. Not a good game from him. Same with De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, he played 29 minutes, had 6 points, and shot 3 of 6. So, that's not too bad, but the guy's starting, so you probably want to see a little bit more from him, but we'll just see how it all plays out for the rest of the season. I know this is really more of a developmental type of season for him, but for Buddy Hield, he had 17 points off the bench, 7 of 13 shooting. Also had 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And Frank Mason, he's been playing extremely well for the Kings so far. He's kind of the underrated guy on that team. No one really talks about him because they got De'Aaron Fox and a couple of the other rookies. Plus, you got Bogdanovich, too, who's been playing well. But Frank Mason, he had 15 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot 4 of 6 and 1 of 2 from the three-point line in only 19 minutes of action. So, watch out for him. He's looking like De'Aaron Fox is obviously going to be the starting point guard in the future for that team. But Frank Mason might be a good backup point guard option for that team going forward also. As for the Chicago Bulls, they went into Indiana. Indiana won that one 98-96. That was a close one right there. Chris Dunn had another good game, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 8 of 14. As for Robin Lopez, he had 16 points, and he shot 7-11, only 5 rebounds. And Denzel Valentine had 15 points, shot 5 of 13, 4 of 7 from the three-point line, and also had 8 rebounds. As for the rookie Lauren Markkanen, he had 11 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 5 of 15 in that one. And let's see, heading into Indiana, that team, Bogdanovich had 17 points. He shot 6 of 13, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. Thaddeus Young had 10 points and 9 rebounds. Miles Turner, only 11 points and 7 rebounds. And Victor Oladipo had a big game, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 10 of 20 from the field, and 4 of 10 from the three-point line. As for Atlanta, they went into Orlando, and Orlando won that game in overtime right there. Atlanta had Prince from that team. He had 19 points, shot 6 of 8, had 6 rebounds. Dennis Schroeder had 26 points, 10 of 26, shot 10 of 26 from the field, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Cam Bazemore didn't have a good game. He only had 4 points. He had 6 rebounds and 7 assists, so he shot 1 of 9. And Marco Bellinelli had 12 points off the bench for the Hawks, too. As for Orlando, Aaron Gordon had 24 points, 15 rebounds, shot 9 of 15. Big game from him. Evan Fournier, 27 points, 4 rebounds. He shot 12 of 21. Jonathan Simmons, 15 points, 6 rebounds. Vucevic had 22 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 9 of 19. And Elfrid Payton didn't have all that good of a game. Only 6 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, but he shot 3 of 11 and 0 of 5 from the three-point line. As for Memphis, they headed into New York, faced off with the Knicks. The Knicks won that one 99-88. Let's see, Marc Gasol, 17 points, 8 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Tyreke Evans, only 15 points. He shot 4 of 13. Tyreke Evans, I've noticed, since he's been starting, I think, with Mike Conley out, you can see that Tyreke Evans really hasn't been able to put up the same amount of production that he does off the bench. Maybe he's just more comfortable coming off the bench, and he's not really a starter in the NBA, and he just, like I said, he just needs to come off the bench in order for him to fully produce, but we'll see how it all ends up. I'm sure he's going to end up back on the bench once Conley comes back, but Chandler Parsons had 13 points. He shot 5 of 9 off the bench. And Mario Chalmers, that's a throwback name right there, 14 points, and he shot 5 of 9 for the game also. As for the Knicks, Kristaps Porzingis had 18 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 8 of 19 in 34 minutes. Enes Kanter, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 4 of 10 from the field. And Courtney Lee had 24 points. He shot 10 of 17, 4 of 6 from the three-point line, and had 3 assists. As for the Golden State Warriors, they headed into Charlotte, and they pretty much destroyed Charlotte. They won 101-87. Charlotte really never had a chance. Jordan Bell started in this one, the rookie. He only played 20 minutes, only took 2 shots, didn't make either of them, but he did have 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Kevin Durant played 36 minutes. He had 35 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double from him. Shot 13 of 28 from the field and 3 of 10 from the three-point line, but even with those bad three-point numbers, he still had a really big game and a good game at that. Quinn Cook, he came in for he's starting for Steph Curry. Now that Curry's out injured, he had 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot 3 of 7 and 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. And Klay Thompson had a good game. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 of 14 from the field, and 4 of 7 from the 3-point line. Let's see, for Charlotte, you had Kemba Walker, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 8 of 21, 3 of 7 from the 3-point line. Nicholas Batum, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 6 of 12. And Dwight Howard, 14 points, 7 rebounds, shot 4 of 10. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, not a good game from him, only 6 points, 3 rebounds. Also had 4 fouls in that game and only shot 3 of 11 from the field. As for Detroit, they let me down here, thought they'd win, but Detroit's starting to cool off a whole lot right now. They're not really starting to play too well. They started off really hot. I think they started off, 14-6. Now they're 14-10. So they really need to figure it out before they start slipping even more. But Milwaukee beat Detroit 104-100. Tobias Harris had 21 points, 5 rebounds, shot 8 of 14 in that game, 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. Stanley Johnson, poor game from him, only 2 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 0 of 8 from the field. Andre Drummond had a big game, 27 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, 12 of 16 from the field. He played 37 minutes in that game. Reggie Jackson, 14 points, shot 5 of 14, 1 of 4 from the 3-point line, and had 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Avery Bradley had a decent game, 20 points, shot 5 of 13, and 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. As for Milwaukee, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo. He had 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Another really good game from him. 8 of 16 from the field. Chris Middleton, 21 points, shot 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, had 5 rebounds, 6 assists also, so a really good game from him also. And Eric Bledsoe, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 9 of 21, 2 of 6 from the 3-point line. And that was all enough from those 3 right there to help him get the win. As for Denver, they headed into New Orleans. This was one of my tougher picks yesterday. I picked New Orleans, or at least I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, go ahead and listen to that podcast from yesterday. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I picked New Orleans in this one. They won 123-114 Denver. Let's see. Jamal Murray, 15 points, 4 assists. He shot 5 of 11 from the field, 1 of 1 from the 3-point line. Will Barton started in this game. He had 15 points, shot 6 of 14, had 7 rebounds. And Gary Harris, 24 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. He shot 8 of 19 from the field. And let's see, anything else notable from Denver? No, not really. As for the Pelicans, DeMarcus Cousins had a huge game. 40 points, 22 rebounds, 4 assists. Shot 12 of 25 from the field, 2 of 6 from the 3-point line. Drew Holiday also had a big game right there. 27 points, 7 assists, 12 of 20 from the field. Rajon Rondo had a good game. 11 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. He shot 5 of 7 from the field and 1 of 1 from the 3-point line. And Etuan Moore even contributed in this game. 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Shot 5 of 10 from the field and 4 of 7 from the 3-point line. As for the Miami Heat, they headed into San Antonio. San Antonio won that one 117-105. Right now, San Antonio 17-8. They're playing really well. Let's see, for Miami though, let's see. Josh Richardson, 19 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 7 of 10. Good game from him. Dion Waiters, 22 points. Only had 5 assists, shot 8 of 12, 4 of 6 from the 3-point line, so a solid game from him. And Tyler Johnson, he had 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, and he shot 9 of 12 from the field. As for Justice Winslow, he came off the bench. He only had 5 points, 4 rebounds, and shot 2 of 9. Justice Winslow really hasn't panned out to be the player that everyone thought he'd be, or at least what all the draft experts thought he'd be. Everyone thought he'd be really good athletically, but his main problem is he can't shoot the basketball. And if you can't shoot the basketball in this league, and you really don't do anything else great, then you're really not going to have much of a future. But hopefully he figures it all out, because the guy's really athletic. Let's see, for San Antonio, you had LaMarcus Aldridge with 18 points, 4 rebounds, shot 7 of 16. Rudy Gay, 16 points, shot 6 of 13, also had 7 rebounds. Let me look at it right here. Patty Mills, 13 points, shot 5 of 11, and 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. And once again, the Spurs won that game 117-105. As for the final game of the night, you had the Minnesota Timberwolves heading into LA against the Clippers. The Timberwolves won that one 113-107. Timberwolves probably the most inconsistent team in the league right now. You really can't trust them at all, but they ended up winning yesterday. Taj Gibson had 16 points, shot 7 of 10, also had 14 rebounds. Andrew Wiggins had 16 points also. He shot 7 of 16 in that game. Karl-Anthony Towns, 21 points, 12 rebounds, shot 9 of 14. Jeff Teague had 19 points. He shot 6 of 14, 4 of 7 from the 3-point line. And Jimmy Butler had 19 points, shot 7 of 12. Didn't hit a 3 in that one, but also had 8 rebounds and 8 assists. So pretty good outing from the starting five of the Timberwolves. You had Gibson with 16, Wiggins with 16, Towns with 21, Teague with 19, and Butler with 19. Anytime you can get your starting five to put up double-digit scoring numbers in one game, that's always a good thing for you. As for the Clippers, you had DeAndre Jordan, 18 points, 21 rebounds, big game from him, shot 8 of 12. Austin Rivers, 23 points, 4 assists, shot 9 of 18 in that one. And no one else really did anything else. Danilo Gallinari came back, 7 points, 4 rebounds, shot 2 of 13 from the field. And Wesley Johnson only had 9 points. He had 3 rebounds also and shot 4 of 11 from the field. So really not a great game from them. Let's see from the Clippers bench. Also Lou Williams, 23 points, 8 assists, shot 9 of 20, and shot 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. So a decent game from him. But that's it for tonight, or for yesterday's games. We're going to do the power rankings next segment, and then after that we'll talk about tonight's games also, which is Thursday night. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. If you missed that last segment or need a quick reminder, we basically just recapped what was yesterday? The Wednesday night games from yesterday. Talked about each game, gave the scores and stats for each game also, so go ahead and check that out if you missed it. But for this segment, we're going to do power rankings. We all know how everyone loves power rankings. I'm going to have your team ranked too low, and I'm probably going to have the team you don't like ranked too high. So just go ahead, give it a listen, and then let me know how you feel about it after. But let's get it started. At number 1, I got the Boston Celtics. Currently got the best record in the league and are currently playing the best basketball in the league, so there's no reason to take them away from that number 1 spot. Kyrie Irving, he's in the MVP race right now. I know it's early, but it's never too early to be talking about the MVP race. You got LeBron, you got Kyrie, you got Kevin Durant, who probably belongs in that discussion too. Well, not probably, he does. And then who else? I think I'm missing someone else. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and there should be one player I think I'm missing, but I can't remember exactly who it would be. So, yeah, I got Boston at number 1. They're playing good basketball right now. Their defense is kind of let off a little bit, but not too bad. But their offense has really picked up. So, I mean, it's kind of it's a good balance that they got going on right now. At number 2, I got the Golden State Warriors. Probably overall the best team in the league, but I have them at 2 because right now they're not playing the best basketball and they don't have the best record, okay? I still believe that the Warriors, I still believe that the Warriors are going to win the title at the end of the year. And there's really no reason to doubt that right now. But I'm sure they're going to be playing a team like Boston. I don't think Cleveland's going to get past Boston this year in the conference finals. I mean, if it gets to that point between those two teams. But I still think the Warriors are going to win. But if they were to face off against a team like Boston this year in the finals, I mean, it probably wouldn't be as much as a blowout as everyone expects. The thing with Boston, they play Golden State really well, and I think the biggest reason for that is because Boston really matches up well with Golden State, because you see other teams in the league right now still going by the old model, picking a center, then you got a power forward, small forward, shooting guard, and then a point guard, but really, the Warriors and Celtics are probably the 2 smartest teams in the league right now going towards positionless basketball, and that's pretty much worked out for them. The Warriors started doing it. We're the first team to do it, and they were dominating now. And you can see the Celtics starting to do it. And also, there's who else does it in the league? I don't know. I can't think of the top of my head. I think Miami might be doing that too. But nonetheless, yeah, I got Golden State at number 2 right now. They're 20-6, and they'll end up winning the West. And I'm sure they're going to end up facing Boston in the finals. But when we get there, we get there. At number 3, I got the Houston Rockets. Right now, they're 18-4. They've been playing well also. They're the number 1 seed in the West right now, and people might wonder, why don't you just have the Houston Rockets at number 2 in the power rankings? But I'm not ready to crown the Rockets as the best team in the West right now. I still think it's the Warriors, and I'm probably going to think that way for the rest of the season unless the Warriors just really don't pretty much dominate the rest of the season. At number 4, guess who's back? The Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe right now they're at a 13-game win streak. All right, LeBron's playing out of his mind, putting up MVP numbers in his 15th season. There's been pretty much no player like LeBron, and I know I can say that Michael Jordan is the best player of all time, but I always say too, LeBron James, he's right there. He's not far off, if that. He's right behind Michael Jordan, and I know most of the old guys, they won't really admit it because I know a lot of people out there too, they think LeBron, he's a bit people don't like LeBron for some reason. I don't understand it. People say he's a crybaby a little bit and he whines too much, but who cares? The guy puts up numbers. That's all that matters, all right? He's one of the most dominant. He's the most dominant player in the NBA right now, by far the best player in the NBA. And when I was talking about that MVP award between him, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, I mean, MVP and best player in the league are obviously something different because we've seen that year after year. I mean, James Harden, he deserves an MVP, but like I said, year after year, LeBron's been the best player, and he's not winning it every year either. So, yeah, right now LeBron is by far the best player in the NBA, and there's really no one that comes close to him right now. I understand Kevin Durant's probably the best scorer in the league, but he can't do what LeBron does all around. So, yeah, right now LeBron's the best player in the league. He's got the Cleveland Cavaliers playing well. Kevin Love's playing well. Dwayne Wade is doing well off the bench, and once they get Isaiah Thomas back, that defense is going to get even worse. But it's going to be just another player who can score a lot of points. So we'll see how it all ends up for them. At number 5, I got the San Antonio Spurs. They're 17-8, 2.5 games off of the lead for number 1 seed in the West, and Greg Popovich has that team playing extremely well without Kawhi Leonard. He should be returning within the next couple of weeks, hopefully. I really want to see Kawhi come back, especially with LaMarcus Aldridge finally playing well for the Spurs. But right now, what did I say? Yeah, they're 17-8 right now, so I mean, we just got to wait and see when Kawhi comes back, how well that team's going to play, and who knows, maybe when Kawhi comes back, that's going to take away from LaMarcus Aldridge, so you're probably going to see his production go down a little bit more, but I'm sure Greg Popovich can find a way to make it work. At number 6, I got the Toronto Raptors. Toronto's a team that really don't make any big changes in the offseason. They always stick to their core team right there, and they maybe add a role player or two in the offseason, but nothing really too flashy or big, but they always find themselves right there in the top 4 year after year. Right now, they're 15-7. They're 5 games back of Boston for that 1 seed. DeMar DeRozan's been playing extremely well, and Kyle Lowry's been pretty much doing a little bit of everything this season. So he's been playing well too. The biggest problem with the Raptors isn't about how they play during the regular season. It's all about what they do in the playoffs. And Kyle Lowry, once the playoffs come, he goes and hides behind the curtains because it seems like he really can't handle the playoff atmosphere or anything like that. But we'll see how it all ends up for them. But at number 7, I got the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is by far the most inconsistent team in the league for me right now. They're 15-11, 5 games back of Houston and Golden State for that number 1 spot in the West. And you really can't trust the Timberwolves either when you're picking them in games or even expecting them to play well against a bad team because for some reason they can't put it together consistently. I don't understand what it is. You got Jimmy Butler out there. You got Karl Anthony Towns. You got Andrew Wiggins, who should be playing way better than what he is right now. And Jeff Teague's playing the point guard position. And you got pretty much those 4 core guys right there. This team should be playing a whole lot better. And Tom Thibodeau, I see that he likes to, every time I look at the stats for the team, I see he likes to run a little 8-man rotation every time, but maybe it's time for him to switch it up or something. But like I said, right now they're 15-11. They're really inconsistent, but you really can't bag on them too much since they're the 4th seed in the West right now. At number 8, I got the Detroit Pistons. They're slipping right now. They started off, I think it was 14-6, I'm pretty sure. Now they're 14-10, and they're just really right now in a slump. They really can't seem to figure it out. They can't beat the good teams right now, and they're struggling against the bad ones too. So right now I got Detroit at number 8. Hopefully they're able to pick it up, but we'll see how it all ends up for them. At number 9, I got the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's see the record right here. They are 13-10, 7.5 games back of Boston. And honestly, I think that that number 1 seed, it's either going to come down to Cleveland or Boston. I mean, Toronto's going to be hanging around for a while, but I don't think they're going to be able to pull the trigger and be able to end up there. So we'll see how it all ends up. But yeah, right now I got Philly at number 9. They've been playing well. Like I said, they're 13-10. Joel Embiid is by far their best player. Not by far, but what I mean, that's pretty much their building block for the future. Also, Ben Simmons right there. The guy's almost averaging a triple-double. Probably going to be the Rookie of the Year. So those 2 core guys right there. And then once Fultz comes back, hopefully he plays well too. So Philly's going to be an exciting team to watch going forward. At number 10, to round out my top 10, I got the Portland Trailblazers. Also one of the more inconsistent teams in the league right now. They are currently 13-11, 6 games back at Houston and Golden State for that number 1 spot. And you really can't count on let's see, Portland, perfect comparison. They're like the Hawks from the last few years. I mean, I know this year they've been pretty bad, but the Hawks from probably last year and about 6 years before that, in that little period of time, the Hawks were always a good team, always finished in the middle of the pack in the East, and pretty much was a lock for the playoffs every year, but never really did anything, never really came out of the first round or really did anything special. And that's exactly what the Portland Trailblazers are. I mean, they're going to be in the middle of the pack. They're going to be a lock for the playoffs year after year, but I mean, you can't really expect them to do anything because they really can't show up when it matters. At number 11, I got the Milwaukee Bucks. I was kind of torn between putting them or the Pacers at number 11, but I'm going to go ahead and throw Milwaukee right there at 11. They got Giannis Antetokounmpo, guy's a MVP candidate right now. Chris Middleton's been playing well. Eric Bledsoe, that trade's worked out pretty well for them so far. And the only thing that really hasn't been going well is Brogdon off the bench, but hopefully he gets used to that role and pretty much picks up his play a little bit. At number 12, I got the Indiana Pacers. They're currently, what's their record? They're currently 14-11 right now, 7th seed in the West, or in the East, excuse me. Victor Oladipo's playing out of his mind right now, playing extremely better than he was in OKC last year, and that could probably be directly correlated to Russell Westbrook last season. I mean, Russell Westbrook, obviously, on the Thunder last season was the guy. He's going to do everything for that team, so you're not going to see other guys really do too much. But right now, Victor Oladipo is looking like he's the guy in Indiana. He's been playing extremely well. He's averaging around maybe 24, 23 points a game, I think it is. So the Pacers are going to be a fun team to watch going forward. Hopefully they do something at the trade deadline to pretty much elevate themselves. Let's see, at number 13, I have the Utah Jazz. This team's been surprising me so far this season. They've been playing well without Gordon Hayward. Everyone thought they'd pretty much be going down, but right now they're 13-12, they're playing well. Let's see, they gave OKC a run for their money the other day. Probably should have won that game, but didn't. But yeah, Rudy Gobert, he's finally back from injury, and Donovan Mitchell's looking like a top 3 rookie in the league right now. So they got a bright future ahead of them. At number 14, I got the Denver Nuggets. Right now, they're currently 13-11, and they really kind of disappointed me so far this season. I thought they'd do more with Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, and also with Nikola Jokic, but really doesn't look like they've taken that improvement from last season to this season. That probably could do with the Paul Millsap injury, him being out for 3 months, I think it was, or it is. So maybe that's what it has to do with. But at number 15, I got the New Orleans Pelicans. One of my favorite teams to watch in the league. Not like a favorite team of mine to root for, but I just enjoy watching them. DeMarcus Cousins is one of my favorite players in the league, and I'll always like Rajon Rondo as a player. Ever since he was in Boston, that guy pretty much was one of the best point guards in the league, but ever since he left Boston, he's really started to go down. But he's a really smart player out there, good at facilitating the offense. And right now, I mean, Anthony Davis, he's been injured, so he's been out. But DeMarcus Cousins, when you got him out there, you really don't have to worry about anything. Like I said yesterday, he dropped 40 points and 22 rebounds against the Denver Nuggets. So right now, they're currently the 8th seed in the West. Oklahoma City's right behind them, a game back at 11-12. But I think New Orleans is going to end up making the playoffs this season. And at number 16, I got the New York Knicks. Did not expect them to be, they're not a good team. They're an average team right now, but I didn't expect them to be average. I thought they'd be, really bad this season, but they really picked it up. They're 12-12 right now. Kristaps Porzingis, that's the franchise right now. He's been playing well. He's been kind of off and on with his injuries so far this season, but the rest of the players on the team have done well to pick up the slack. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been playing well this season also. At number 17, I have the Washington Wizards. Right now, they're currently 13-11, the 8th seed in the East right now, and they've been without John Wall for a couple of weeks, I think, and it's really, you could tell it's been hurting them. If John Wall was out there, they'd probably be in the top 4 right now in the East, but they're not, so you can't really judge the Wizards right now until John Wall comes back. At number 18, I got probably the most disappointing team in the league this season, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're currently 11-12, 7.5 games back of the 1 seed in the West right now. I don't even think they'll even be in the top 4, top 5. They're not a good team, okay? They got good players, but they're not a good team. There's a difference, all right? They got talent, but they're not able to put it together, okay? They can't shoot, and they're terrible at assisting each other with the ball. So I got them at number 18. Number 19, I got the Miami Heat. They're currently 11-13. They're going to be a team fighting for that A spot. Not sure if they're going to make it, but right now they're in a weird spot right now, okay? Because they're too good right now to have a high draft pick, and they're too bad right now to be drafting that low. So they really need to figure out where they're going right now. I mean, Eric Spoelstra's a good coach, so he's going to figure it out, I bet. At number 20, I got the Orlando Magic. I think last time I did the power rankings, I had them in the top 10, and look at that. Next time I do them, they're all the way back down at 20. They pretty much came down to earth. They started off the season really hot, but now they're 11-15, and they're looking like the old Orlando Magic team, the young team that pretty much can't put it together. So we'll see how it all ends up for them. But at 21, I got the LA Clippers. They're currently 8-15. Blake Griffin, that injury pretty much just killed their pretty much hope that they had for this season. They were playing extremely well, and once Griffin went down, that was pretty much it for them. So we'll see once he comes back if they'll be able to fight back and make that 8th seed, but I doubt it. At number 22, I got the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn, D'Angelo Russell's been out. Jeremy Lin got injured in the beginning of the season, so I mean they haven't really been playing with any big talent players or anything like that, any big name players, but they're still managing to play well. I mean, for a bad team, they're 9-14 right now, and Cleveland's probably got to be sweating themselves a little bit because that Brooklyn pick isn't going to be too high. But at number 23, I got the Charlotte Hornets. They've kind of been a disappointment. No, they have been a disappointment so far this season. Dwight Howard's been playing well. Kemba Walker's been playing well, but the rest of that team really hasn't been able to put it together. Malik Monk's been pretty much disappointment so far in his rookie season. I know he's only a rookie, so I mean he's still got a bunch of years ahead of him in order to make it right, but it really just hasn't worked out for him so far. At number 24, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. They're a bit of a weird team right now. If they end up falling because they're going to be in the lottery without a doubt, and if their pick ends up 2 through 5, then the Boston Celtics get that pick. So Lakers really got to start winning these games. And I know the lottery, it's not how it used to be. They fixed it. They changed it too. So the Lakers could end up in that 2 to 5 range, but we'll see how it all ends up. At number 25, I got the Phoenix Suns. I mean, them and the Lakers can pretty much be interchangeable, I feel. They're pretty much the same team. They both got young players, and they're both trying to figure out the direction they're trying to go in. And there's really not much to say about Phoenix right now. Devin Booker's hurt. Josh Jackson's been playing well, so we'll see how it all ends up for them. At 26, I got the Memphis Grizzlies. They're pretty much, they fired their coach, David Fizdale, earlier in the season, and Marc Gasol has been trade rumors around surrounding his name. He's probably going to end up getting traded. I know the owners come out and say, oh yeah, Marc Gasol's not getting traded, but I highly doubt that. The guy's going to end up going somewhere. He's probably going to end up in Cleveland, Boston, or some other team, but we'll see how that all ends up once the trade deadline comes. At number 27, I got the Sacramento Kings. They're currently too young of a team to be really playing well, and you really hope that game in and game out they're just able to compete because, like I said, they're just too young and they just need to develop right now. They're currently 7-17 and probably going to end up with a high draft pick again. At 28, I got the Dallas Mavericks. They're currently 7-18. Dennis Smith Jr. has been playing well. Harrison Barnes has been a steady player for them, and Dirk Nowitzki's pretty much, obviously, his play is starting to deteriorate. So they're going to have another high draft pick, so we'll see if they can add another solid piece to play alongside Dennis Smith Jr. and Harrison Barnes. At number 29, I got the Atlanta Hawks. They really got nothing going for them. They got Dennis Schroeder, but that's just about it. They're going to have a high draft pick, and that's all I got to say about the Hawks right now. They're just rebuilding right now. At number 30, I got the Chicago Bulls, probably the team with the least amount of talent on that team in the league. Right now, Chris Dunn's been playing well. Larry Markkanen's been playing well. And just like Atlanta, right now, there's nothing much you could say about them. They need to rebuild, and hopefully they do well on these draft picks. But that's actually going to round it out for this for those power rankings. And that's also going to round it out for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Browns firing Sashi Brown, their GM. They're going to be keeping Hugh Jackson, too. So we'll talk a little bit about that, give my thoughts on it, and pretty much talk about whatever else comes to mind in the NFL. And then to round out that last segment of the show, we'll be talking about the NBA games from tonight and pretty much anything else going on in sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening to the show so far. This last segment, I did my NBA power rankings. Let's see, I'll do my top 10 real quick. Just as a quick reminder, I had the Boston Celtics at 1, the Warriors at number 2, Houston at number 3, Cleveland at 4, the Spurs at 5, Toronto at 6, Minnesota at 7, Detroit at 8, the Sixers at 9, and the Trailblazers at number 10. I think those are pretty good power rankings right there. I mean, I'm sure Warriors fans are obviously going to think they're the number 1 team in power rankings, and they should be. But like I said, the whole thing with that is obviously they are the best overall team in the league, but as of right now, they're not playing the best basketball, I guess, if that makes any sense. Plus, the Celtics beat them, so I got the Celtics at number 1. But as for everything else, I think it looks pretty good. Cleveland right now deserves to be at number 4. They're currently on that 13-game winning streak, and they've done well to bring themselves back into the top of the Eastern Conference, so we'll see how it all ends up. It's going to be a fun NBA season. But as for this segment, Cleveland Browns can never seem to keep themselves out of the news. It's always something they're doing wrong. All right, and what they did, I'm not even sure if it's they did something wrong in firing Sashi Brown, the GM. I think it was also he's the GM. I'm calling him that. He pretty much oversaw all personnel operations and stuff like that, but yeah, guy's the GM. Okay, the Browns, when they brought him in and pretty much brought in the rest of their front office, they had a plan. It was a long-term plan they were going to try and execute in order to pretty much make the Browns relevant. I'm not going to try and say bring the Browns to relevancy because the old Browns are currently the Baltimore Ravens, so the old Browns really don't matter, and these new Browns have never been good. Probably one of these days they're going to be calling me up to play quarterback to add to that little list that they got going on, but I get the move, but if you have a plan, like a long-term plan, and that's what your goal is, don't go firing the GM after 2 years. I mean, less like a year and a half, I think it was, or was it 2.5? I'm not even sure, but either way, I mean, they've done pretty well in these last couple of drafts. I mean, this draft, they got Kaiser. I still think he's going to be a decent quarterback in the league. He's pretty much just needs weapons around him. He got Josh Gordon back, and he finally got Corey Coleman back. Corey Coleman's been injured for a lot of his career, so, I mean, he really needs to stay healthy in order to give Kaiser the best opportunity to succeed. But, I mean, they're probably going to end up looking for a quarterback in the draft, too. They'll probably take Josh Rosen or Sam Darnold. If the Browns take Baker Mayfield with their first pick, I'm going to lose it. I'm saying it right now. I'm not even saying that Baker Mayfield's not going to be a good quarterback. You know what? I'm going to say it right. Yeah, actually, that might be what I am saying. Okay, Baker Mayfield, he's got a lot of hype surrounding him right now. Guy's going to win the Heisman. He has a chance to go out and win the national championship if they beat Georgia. And if he does both of those things, then you know he's going to be a top 10 pick. But I don't really... I see the Johnny Manziel and Russell Wilson comparisons, and I don't really think he's as bad as Johnny Manziel, and I don't think he's as good as Russell Wilson as a prospect coming out, all right? I don't think he's either of those players. Like, he's similar, but I don't think those are the right comparison. I don't think there really is a comparison for Baker Mayfield, okay? Because, like I said, I really don't think of him as like a Johnny Manziel type of player, and I don't really think of him as a Russell Wilson type of player. Like, I know he likes to take off with the ball, but that's really not his go-to right there. I think, I'm not really sure, but I know if he ends up with the Browns, it's not going to work out. I'm going to say that right now. Baker Mayfield and the Browns, just with the whole, and I think it more has to do with the front office and pretty much the toxic, toxicity. Is that even a good word to use right there? I'm not even sure, but pretty much it's so toxic in that front office and that coaching staff. Really, no one can really succeed. When you got Hugh Jackson benching his quarterback and DeShone Kizer 4 times this year, bringing him back after that too. I mean, what does that really show? I mean, there was reports early on in the season that Sam Darnold probably might not come out in the draft if the Browns had the first pick. I mean, since then, he's pretty much said, no, that's not true. But, I mean, there's reports come out for a reason. They're not just all a bunch of lies. I know some reporters like to pretty much fabricate things, but I think the whole Sam Darnold not wanting to come out because the Browns might have the first pick, I mean, that could be true because the Browns pretty much have been a dumpster fire since they came back. And that was what, in the late 1990s, 98 I think it was, sometime around there, maybe in 2000. But yeah, they pretty much been a dumpster fire the entire way. All right, I mean, you can look at the trade deadline. Going back to the trade deadline, okay, Hugh Jackson was going to give up a second and a third round pick for A.J. McCarron. Not even a second round pick in this draft and a third round pick in the next draft. He was going to give up a second round pick and a third round pick in this year's draft. And I mean, that sounds bad as it is. Second and third round pick for A.J. McCarron when guys like Kelvin Benjamin, the Panthers are getting a third round pick and a seventh round pick for him. And obviously I think Kelvin Benjamin is a better at doing his job rather than A.J. McCarron is at doing his. But yeah, so they were going to make that trade. Okay, fair enough. They're going to give up that, whatever. They want their quarterback. Okay, they thought A.J. McCarron was going to be able to do a good job. But it was reported that Sashi Brown, well, there was a bunch of reports right there. Let me see if I can remember them right here, okay? So the first report that came out with that whole little trade deadline fiasco was they were too busy celebrating and they forgot to send the paperwork in time. And then the second rumor was that they made the trade, but Sashi Brown pretty much sabotaged it and didn't send the paperwork in time, so they weren't able to get AJ McCarron on their team. And I'm more inclined, I want to believe the first rumor because that's more the funnier one. It's like, oh, Browns, what are you guys doing? But I think it's more Sashi Brown probably sabotaged the trade for AJ McCarron. Because you pretty much, I mean, if the guy's getting fired mid-season, and not even at the end of the season too, if he's getting fired mid-season, then obviously that had to have been at least a little bit sort of true. But let's talk about Hugh Jackson for a little bit, all right? So he came out and made a statement saying today, I think it was, that so the Browns, before I even get into that, the Browns don't have an offensive coordinator. And now getting back to the Hugh Jackson statement, Hugh Jackson came out and said he didn't hire an offensive coordinator because of the fact that he knew that the offense wasn't good and he didn't want the offensive coordinator to be the scapegoat and pretty much be the guy who gets fired because of it, because already Hugh Jackson saying no one could come in and succeed with this offense. And I'm not sure how to feel about that statement. I mean, in a way, it's like, oh, Hugh Jackson cares about other people, right? He wasn't going to bring in a guy just to get fired. And then it's like Hugh Jackson, the other side is like Hugh Jackson saying, yeah, our offense is garbage and pretty much no one could succeed. And that's pretty much Hugh Jackson saving his job right there by not bringing an offensive coordinator. He's pretty much telling the front office, see, I mean, I told you if I would have brought in an offensive coordinator, nothing would have happened. We still would have been this bad. But it's kind of, the Browns they're an interesting team. I mean, for a while, I thought the Giants were the most dysfunctional franchise in the league. And this is what the Browns are really good at, okay? When it's looking like they're starting to figure things out. I mean, I know they haven't won a game this season, but it's just because they really don't have enough talent. Well, they do have talent. Man, the Browns are a mess. Even trying to talk about the Browns is kind of difficult. So the Browns really, they got talent on that team, okay? I think the biggest thing is that like the front office and the coaching staff, it's all just poor and toxic right there. You can't really succeed in Cleveland at all, okay? You got Tashawn Gibson. I think he's playing with Tennessee or the Jacksonville Jaguars now, but before their game against the Browns this season, he went out and said pretty much he's glad to be out of Cleveland. Pretty much you can't succeed there, and it's true. No one has succeeded in Cleveland, okay? Everyone that leaves ends up doing better. Look at Taylor Gabriel. I mean, he left Cleveland. He got cut by them, goes with the Falcons. He picks up a role, and he's a pretty big part of that team right there. But it's just the Browns. I mean, going back to being them being dysfunctional, and the Giants too. I mean, the Giants this season have pretty much been the most dysfunctional team in the league. You got Ben McAdoo. He's fired now, but you have him pretty much benching Eli Manning in order to try and put the blame on Eli Manning. It's like, guy, you're not going to succeed doing that. And then you have him putting in Geno Smith, and it's like, what are you doing? The game after that, he gets fired. And it's pretty much nothing's worked out for the Giants, but like I said, it's just the Browns being the Browns, coming out here and showing everyone, you know what? No, Giants aren't the most dysfunctional team in the league, the most dysfunctional franchise. We are. Look what we can do. And it's pretty much that one kid, okay? The other kid, everyone's looking at the other kids, giving them attention. There's that one kid who's frustrated because he's not getting the attention. And that's what the Browns are right there. And they're just going to try and do something dumb in order to get that attention. And that's exactly what they did by firing Sashi Brown. I mean, if you're going to fire him, I wouldn't even fire Sashi Brown, okay? I understand that they've only won one game in the last 2 seasons so far. Obviously, that can change if the Browns get a win this season. But, I mean, if you have going back to the whole long-term plan, okay? If you have a long-term plan in place, go through with the plan, all right? No one's expecting the Browns to be good. No one's expecting you guys to do anything, I promise. No one thinks you guys are a good football team. Everyone knows that you guys are young, have a bunch of young guys and rookies on your team. So everyone's just really expecting you to show development and stuff like that. And you can't even do that right by firing your GM. I mean, Hugh Jackson's going to be back for next year, but I mean, if the Browns don't win 5 games next season, I'm sure Hugh Jackson's going to get fired. And it really just makes no sense. Go through with the long-term plan. If you got a plan, go through with it. Don't just throw it away. This is why the Browns have never been good. There's no stability in that franchise whatsoever, okay? They'll say one thing and go against it, and pretty much they'll fire their coach. They'll fire their GM, they'll get rid of quarterbacks. They really don't give anyone a chance in that franchise, okay? They're expecting results way too fast, okay? The Browns, you're a terrible franchise. I'm going to say that right now. Any Browns fans, okay, Browns front office people, Browns coaches, players, I'm not sure if they're listening to the show, but if you are, your franchise is terrible, okay? It's garbage. The franchise is awful. The way it's been ran since they became an expansion team has been garbage, terrible. I mean, there's many other things I could say about the Browns, but I'm not going to because I want to be a nice guy. But it's really like, get it together. I mean, have a sense of stability. I mean, look at the Miami Dolphins. They've been firing coach after coach, went through quarterback after quarterback, and they've been a garbage franchise the last, since Marino got out, maybe actually after 2003. Yeah, 2004 is when they started being really bad. But with Adam Gase, I mean, this season they're 5-7 right now. They made the playoffs last year with Gase. And even with this season being not so good, it's like, you know what? They're going to be all right because they got a sense of stability, and Gase has a plan in place. And with the Browns, they really don't follow that model at all. With their players, coaches, and front office guys. I mean, if you have the long-term plan, go through with the plan. Don't just throw it away because it's not working out in the first 2 years. I mean, why would you fire a guy within the first 2 years of your plan if you have a long-term plan? It just makes no sense to me how the Browns run things. I mean, they need to sell the team. That's what it is. The Browns, the owners, they need to sell the team. The owner has no idea what he's doing, okay? And every guy that he brings in has no idea what he's doing. The Browns need to sell the team, just pretty much start fresh, but I'm sure that's not going to happen, but that's probably the best thing from that's the only way you fix the Browns, you sell the team. But like I said, it's not going to happen, obviously. Most likely not, but we'll see how it all ends up for them. Hopefully they end up getting a win at the end, towards the end of the season, because no one wants to go 0-16. I don't want to see the Browns go 0-16. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Glad I got to go on a little Browns rant. But next up, we're going to talk about the NBA games going on tonight, and we'll pretty much talk about anything else going on in sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Our last segment of the show. My favorite segment, as I like to say, my favorite segment because I pretty much just get to talk about whatever I want. I mean, I already get to do that with the show pretty much before, but you know, you got to get the NBA out, you got to get the NFL out there, college football sometimes. Actually, we're going to talk about college football right now. Tennessee finally got their coach, but yeah, for this segment, pretty much just get to talk about whatever comes to mind. I mean, pretty much, it doesn't matter. I can talk about soccer, I can talk about the NHL, which I never do, but you know, I got that option, you know? But for that last segment, I pretty much just went on a nice little Browns rant talking about how they're so bad because they've never been a stable franchise. They have no stability there. But I mean, they'll figure it out one day. But I personally think they should sell the team. But they obviously won't because I mean, when do the Browns ever do the right thing? But we'll see how it all ends up, obviously. But as for this, Tennessee finally got their head coach, and everyone's starting to. Well, let me say who it is first. I think it's the defensive coordinator from Alabama. I believe his first name is Jeremy. I know his last name is Pruitt for sure. I think it's Jeremy Pruitt is his whole name. But I really don't know too much about the guy. I mean, all I know about him, I guess, is that from watching Alabama's defense has pretty much been the one constant the last decade or so. Defense is always lights out. It's always played well. I don't even think that he's been the defensive coordinator for that long. But I mean, Alabama's never really had a bad defense. They've always put players in a good position to succeed and do well. So, I mean, reporters around college football on ESPN, all that. I mean, Louis Riddick of ESPN came out and said that this is a huge hire for Tennessee right here. They're not going to regret it. The guy's going to be he's going to be a very good coach, and eventually you might end up seeing him in the NFL. So, I mean, everyone around the college football world and pretty much reporter ESPN world likes the hires. So, I mean, we'll see how it all ends up. I mean, my feelings on Tennessee, can't stand them. I think they're overrated, overhyped. I could care less what they did 40 years ago. Okay, that doesn't matter now. I mean, since I've been alive, you really haven't seen Tennessee do anything. I mean, they had Peyton Manning out there right before I was born, or maybe during the year I was born. I can't remember exactly when, but it was 1996. But yeah, Tennessee, they're overhyped. Okay, they want to be Alabama so bad. You're not Alabama. You'll never be out. I can't say never because they used to be Alabama, but like in the 70s and stuff like that. But do we really care about what happened in the 70s? I mean, the only team we really care about from back then, I guess you hear people talk about, is the U and Notre Dame. Notre Dame used to be that team back then in the 80s and all that stuff, in the olden times, as I like to say. But the U also in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s up until about 2003, the U was that team. So, I mean, I could care less what a team did in the 70s for Tennessee. I mean, I don't know. But we'll see how it all ends up for them. We'll see if they're able to recruit. I mean, because year after year, it's like, oh, is Tennessee back? Are they going to do something? And no, the obvious answer is always no. People like to entertain that question. But with this hire, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of optimism around it. Maybe Tennessee's finally gonna be playing good football, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm excited to see how it is. I mean, I've been doing this podcast for about almost a month, I think it is, and I've been talking a lot about college football, and it's just getting me very excited for college football next season. Also, I'm ready for the playoff coming up. That's in a month's time, so I mean, just gotta wait and see how it all ends up. And also Willie Taggart, the former Oregon coach. Now he's going to be coaching at Florida State. And it's another hire everyone's starting to like. So we'll see how it all ends up for these guys. But let's talk some NBA basketball. Let's see. Tonight, we got a good slate of games, I feel. Let's see. We got the Lakers and 76ers playing on TNT tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Actually, I'll do some picks for these games, actually. Yeah. Let's see. We got 4 games. There's no way I cannot pick 4 correct games, right? I have to get these 4 games right. I need to go 100% at least once. Just once I need to go 100% on my picks. So, let's get it started. We got the Lakers heading into Philly, all right? And Philly versus LA, at least this season, those are fun games because you get to see Lonzo. Like, it's pretty much just a battle of the rookies. I know Joel Embiid isn't a rookie anymore, but I feel like we still treat him like he is one, okay? Because the guy still can't even play back-to-backs. But let's see. Philly actually has a point guard problem. They're missing TJ McConnell. They're missing Markelle Fultz, obviously. So, I mean, I think that means Jared Bayless. He's been out there, too. Man, you got to be really injured if you got Jared Bayless out there starting point guard for you. But, dude, these tickets are so cheap. Before I even get into this, I'm on the little ESPN app right now looking at the injuries, and I'm seeing the tickets are available from $19. I'd be paying at least $40 for a ticket here if that's what the prices were for them. But, man, I wish I was in Philly right now. I'd be at this game for sure. But, yeah, it's going to be Lonzo Ball versus Ben Simmons. Obviously, they're not going to be matching up with each other, but we all know how we like to hype up these rookies. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Kyle Kuzma is the best rookie in the Lakers. Let's not get that twisted at all. Lonzo Ball, he's not a good basketball player right now. I mean, he can't shoot the ball to save his life. Pretty much has no confidence. He's weak out there right now. He's not playing well. I mean, yeah, it's cool. He puts up 6 assists on 5 rebounds a game, but that doesn't mean anything when he's only averaging 2 points a game. And he's got the worst free throw percentage in the league. I think it is the worst shooting percentage, or at least one of the worst. And he's on pace to have one of the worst shooting seasons for a rookie ever. So, I mean, other than Lonzo, I mean, the Lakers got Brandon Ingram, who's been pretty much a good scorer so far this season. Whatever it is KD told him has been working. Last year, Brandon Ingram really couldn't score at all to save his life, but this year he's been playing lights out. He's probably one of the best players on the Lakers. Like I said, Kyle Kuzma probably is the best rookie on that team. He's been playing extremely well. He puts up 20 like it's nothing. I don't think he's averaging 20 or anything like that, but when it's needed, he can do it. And let's see, Jordan Clarkson's been playing well, but you know what? I'm going to go with Philly in this game. I like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons more than anyone else on the Lakers. And I just think it's in Philly, so I mean, it's going to be sold out most likely, and it's just going to be a good atmosphere for the 76ers. So I got them in this one right now. They're currently 13-10. The Lakers are 8-15. So I mean, there's really no reason to pick against the Sixers in this game. As for the Wizards, they're heading over to Phoenix, facing off with the Suns. The Wizards are favored by 7 in this game, but this is more of a tougher game for me to pick because no John Wall. You got Bradley Beal, no Devin Booker, but I don't think the Wizards are that good without John Wall, even with Bradley Beal and Otto Porter out there. But nonetheless, no Devin Booker for the Suns means I'm going with Washington in this one. I think Beal and Porter's been kind of off so far with John Wall being out, but I think he's going to pick it up tonight, and we'll see how it all ends up. But yeah, I got the Wizards in that one. I think they're going to do fine. Let's see. Right now, you got the Thunder. They're heading into Brooklyn. Oh, this one's in Mexico City at 7 o'clock. You got the Thunder heading into Brooklyn. And you know what? I've learned that with these games out of the country, whether it's the NFL playing in London, Mexico City, I mean, this year the Raiders got blown out by the Patriots. I mean, and my point I'm trying to make here is when these teams are playing out of the country, you always got to pick the bad teams because the bad team is almost most likely, always, most certainly going to win. So, you know, I'm going to go with Brooklyn in this one, all right? I don't like the Thunder. Can't stand them just because they got so All right, they got 3 top 20 players on this team, and they're so selfish to the point where they're not going to succeed on that team. All right. Carmelo Anthony, he's not ever going to change the way he plays. He's not going to change the way he plays for anyone. He's a selfish player. I'm going to say that right now. Carmelo Anthony is a selfish player. I'll always believe that, and you can't tell me otherwise, all right? So he's always going to take his bad shots no matter what. Russell Westbrook, he tries to get everyone involved, but he's always going to get his, you know that. And Paul George pretty much has been really disappointing so far this season. So I'm going to go with the Nets in this one. Really, the Thunder are favored by 6 points in this game, but like I said, I got the Nets. It's not in the United States, so what do we do when the teams aren't playing, when 2 teams are playing outside? Always pick outside the U.S., always pick the worst. So yeah, I got the Nets in that one, and then the Rockets are heading into Utah, facing off with the Jazz. I'm going to go Houston in this game. Jazz are going to play a good game. Okay, their defense is going to play well against Houston. It's going to be close, but Houston's going to pull it out. James Harden's going to be too much for that team, and Chris Paul's going to be out there and pretty much running the offense, doing his thing how he usually does. He's came back, but he really hasn't been the same player that we all expected him to be. But nonetheless, I got the Rockets in this game. To recap, I got the Sixers against the Lakers. I got the Wizards beating the Suns. I got the Nets beating the Thunder in Mexico City. And I got the Rockets beating the Jazz. But it's going to round it up for today's picks. Let's see, what do we got going on for tomorrow? So, or not for tomorrow, actually. For talking about some NBA news and notes right now. So the 76ers, they're close to a deal with the Nets for sending off Jahlil Okafor. Jahlil Okafor has pretty much been a weird player. I think he was drafted number 1 overall, or was that Towns? I think that was Towns, and then Okafor got drafted the pick after. But Okafor really hasn't shaped up to be what we all thought he'd be. I mean, I think him going to a team like the Nets, I mean, that's not really going to help his cause. He needs to go to a team like the Celtics, the Cavs, or he needs to go to a good team, because you know what? Good teams got good coaches, and they're going to understand how to utilize his talents and pretty much put him in a position to succeed. And I don't think that's going to happen with the Nets, but I guess we're just going to have to see how it all ends up for him. But yeah, right now they're nearing a deal, but I mean, you always know things can change. Spurs, they're eyeing Saturday as the return for Kawhi Leonard, so hopefully he's back soon. And pretty much the Spurs with Kawhi, right now, the Spurs are only 2.5 games back of the 1 seed in the West right now. They get Kawhi back. Obviously, they're a better team than what they were the day before Kawhi got there, okay? So, I mean, with Kawhi back, who knows? Maybe they'll end up fighting for that 1 seed with the Warriors and Rockets. And the Spurs this season, I'm more like it's going to be the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, but I think it's going to come down to whether or not it's the Spurs or the Rockets playing the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. As of right now, like I said, I know it's early, but as of right now, I'd go with the Spurs beating the Rockets. All right, because with a healthy Kawhi out there and LaMarcus Aldridge playing as well as he has been, I mean, obviously he has to keep it up for the rest of the season, but with him doing that, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up with these 3 teams. I mean, I know I expect the Warriors to end up in the finals, but I mean, that fight for that other Western Conference playoff spot, final spot, is going to be interesting to see. And also, Isaiah Thomas and Tristan Thompson are participating in 4-on-4 games in practice, so they're getting closer to their return. Really excited to see Isaiah Thomas come back. I loved him when he was on the Celtics. Easily my favorite player on the Celtics when he was there. And with the Celtics, I mean, my favorite player always has been Paul Pierce. That's pretty much my all-time favorite player. Pretty much my all-time favorite athlete right there is Paul Pierce. Over anyone in the NFL, over anyone in baseball, over anyone in soccer, anything like that. Paul Pierce has always been the guy, but Isaiah Thomas, when he came out there to Boston, I mean, pretty much my favorite player on Boston right there too. Pretty much filled in that role that Paul Pierce left, but either way, he got traded away, and now hopefully he does well with the Cavaliers. I think he's going to play well, but it's pretty much going to come down to what that hip allows him to do. Hopefully it's all healed up, because, you know, Isaiah Thomas against the Celtics in the Western Conference Finals is going to be fun to watch. I mean, imagine just seeing Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas go at it for 7 games. I mean, that'd be just incredible to watch, but we'll see how it all ends up. But, yeah, when Isaiah comes back, I mean, for the Cavs, I mean, they're going to get better. It's going to be kind of weird. They're going to get better, I guess, on the offensive end, obviously, but, I mean, on the defensive end, they're going to get way worse, because no matter what I say about Isaiah Thomas, like I said, he's one of my favorite players, but on the defensive end, the guy's just a total liability. So we're going to see how it all ends up for him and the Cavs. But let's see, anything else going on in sports, or should we just wrap the show up? Let's head over to the NFL. What do we got going on? Really, nothing going on in the NFL, really, besides the fact that players, reporters, and fans are pretty upset with how the NFL handles their discipline. There's no real set guideline for how they discipline people. It's pretty much whatever Goodell thinks goes. So, I mean, that's all something that's going to get fixed in the next CBA, and I'm not sure if it will be, because I've been seeing that the players really don't have too much leverage, because if they strike, then it'll just be a lockout. So, I mean, we'll just see how it all ends up, but it's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. This was actually a fun one. Enjoyed it throughout. Talked about the NBA games from Wednesday night. Talked about, did my NBA power rankings also. went on a nice little rant about the Browns and talked about Tennessee's new coach, talked about the games for tonight, made my picks, and pretty much talked about anything else going on in the NBA. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We'll be back actually tomorrow. And I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. This is the GSMC Sports Podcast. Like I said, we'll talk to you tomorrow, so stay tuned.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.